I just want to touch upon something you just mentioned, and it's definitely core to a lot of organizations, that is of data literacy. We've heard from several executives who are working on data literacy, and there is definitely a common theme on recognizing the importance of data literacy across the organization. And in fact, I believe that you mentioned it's one of the key competencies of Encora. So in your opinion, how are executives doing in the role of data literacy and rolling it out? And what advice would you provide to senior executives?
Right. So my view is, Robert, that data literacy is probably one of the easier aspects of any data transformation aimed at, ultimately driving data-driven decision-making. And yet, surprisingly, it is generally underappreciated and underinvested in. I frankly don't know the reason for that. But without data literacy, data democratization simply will be extremely, extremely tough. Data literacy is, very simply, it just means, are you able to interpret data? Are you able to extract insights from data? Most organizations leave it to people, their employees to go ahead and figure it out. I think employers and organizations absolutely have a large role to play. I think there's a lot of open source, publicly available content that can absolutely be consumed. My view is that data literacy is very, very critical to digital dexterity. So, if you're trying to run a digital transformation and you do not have a data literacy framework in place, I believe that you will usually end up with a sub-optimized digital transformation or results of digital transformation. I don't believe data literacy is a very onerous or a tough kind of a program to go ahead and execute. All you've got to go ahead and do is, identify within your organization who are the people who are data literate. You want to go ahead and identify what constitutes data literacy for you. Frankly, for every role, data literacy may mean something little different, and you absolutely want to be aware of it. You want to go ahead and run a few experiments, few pilots. You may have external partners. You bring in content, you can generate content. You need to go ahead and integrate all of this into your learning and development platform or your learning management system. You should be able to go ahead and track the results. Again, not very tough to go ahead and do. But most importantly, after people have gone through this data literacy training, I think you have to provide those people with a platform to go ahead and work with those new skills that they have acquired. Because once they have worked with those skills, once they have understood the results that they can go ahead and get because of those skills, I think they imbibe them much better. Now at Encora, these are exactly the principles that we go ahead and follow. So one learning management system, when it comes to soft skills or technical trainings, the technology practices, the business teams, the HR team, the IT team, the learning and development team, they all partner together. We have third parties who we partner with for content. We generate our own content. Our innovation leaders and innovation experts, they generate content. So largely the principles I shared for driving data literacy is what we try to follow at Encora now. Obviously, I don't believe we are perfect, but I think we have the right framework.
And you mentioned the wonderful word there of the right framework. We certainly would agree that data literacy is important for all organizations as we move towards our world of data. Moving on, just looking at the time there, I want to be respectful of the time. One of the questions or one of the backgrounds I noticed in your bio and your organization, which we don't talk a lot about, is how you deal with structured and unstructured data. Now, a lot of organizations have both structured and unstructured data. In fact, probably a lot more unstructured data than structured data. So in your opinion, using any scale that you would like, how would you rate an organization's ability to help how would you rate organization's ability to leverage both the help that the business can generate, and are you aware of any huge gaps in the structured or unstructured area of data that should be addressed sooner rather than later?
Right. So, Robert, I think you mentioned a key point that every organization has structured and unstructured data. And you also mentioned frequently the unstructured data is far more than the structured data. So, unstructured data could be PDF documents, could be emails, could be videos, frankly, could be podcasts, could be data sheets, could be, news articles. And obviously, we know that, the volume of this data, the unstructured data, is generally far more than the structured data. I think there are two roadblocks that most organizations run into when thinking about unstructured data. The first is organizations are knee-deep in their efforts around structured data. So there is no bandwidth to go ahead and look at the other side, which probably is equally interesting. Now, few days ago, I had the opportunity to participate in a panel at the CDO 2021 Global Summit, and we did discuss about technologies like graph databases and knowledge graphs. So, how do you go ahead and work with knowledge graphs to go ahead and take some of your unstructured data and try and bring it into a format or a form where extraction of insight becomes a lot easier? So the first part is, if you're too knee-deep into the structured data side, you haven't really made complete progress with your structured data. Very difficult to go ahead and put together focus on the unstructured side. The second is, frankly, the unstructured data analytics and extraction of insights is a lot more complex compared to the structured data side. And frequently you find companies not having skills around things like deep learning, or NLP, or knowledge graphs, or graph databases, as a result of which the progress on the unstructured data side is a lot slower. Now, what is beginning to happen is that vendors are furiously and feverishly trying to democratize this unstructured data side too. So more and more new applications are coming up. And companies are beginning to realize, I'll use an example, one of the companies I work with, one of the things that we wanted to do was across 6 million SKUs, each one of them with their individual data sheet. How do you figure out whether a product is similar to another product? And the only way we thought we could go ahead and do that was by putting together a graph which captured key attributes of every product after running an NLP algorithms on those data sheets, extracting key entities, putting them into a graph, and then going ahead and finding those clusters where similar products were clustered together. Now, it was imperfect, the first version, but it was definitely better than anything else that we had attempted using structured data techniques till then. Now, you could go ahead and perfect all of these over a few iterations, and definitely the outcome that you'll get out of these techniques is going to be superior, and probably a use case which simply cannot be fulfilled using structured data.